there's NFL rule changes, and I'm going to let you guys kind of run with the rule changes, kind of tell me what's going on here. But there's been a bunch of NFL rule changes coming out of, is it ownership meetings? I guess they're having ownership meetings, and the Players Association they're agreeing to these things. The biggest one, and I think we've all kind of reacted pretty strongly to, is the hip drop tackle is now banned. And if everybody knows what that is, but Gabe, describe what the hip drop tackle is and why it's banned.
I'm glad you asked me because I have literally the NFL's definition of a hip drop tackle directly in front of me. You have to grab the runner with both hands and wrap the runner with both arms. And then B, you have to unweight yourself by swiveling and dropping your hips or lower body, landing and trapping a runner's legs at or below the knee. That's what a hip drop tackle is by their definition. That's now going to be a 15-yard penalty, and it will grant the opposition an automatic first down if you use a hip drop tackle to take a runner down. The other one was like, if you have one successful challenge, you'll get a third instead of getting
there's a couple other proposed ones out right now, but that's the big one.
The hip drop tackle is banned. It's a 15-yard penalty, and I'm gonna say one quick piece, give it to you, Christian, and then we'll go from there. It's just so hard to be a defender, man. There are moments where the only thing you can do to bring a guy down is a quote-unquote hip drop tackle. Yeah. When you're trailing a guy and trying to catch him from behind and he's running a 4-3, sometimes you have no other choice.
Yeah.
And it's just they're making it impossible to be a defender in this league, to make bang-bang plays, to tackle. I mean, Javon Holland, who's a safety for the Dolphins, put out breaking news, tackling is banned in the NFL. And it's like, I hate to say it, that's how I feel. I understand how it could lead to injuries, but it's a game of football. It's a sport of football. It's dangerous as hell as is. But I think you almost make it a little more dangerous, and you make it less the sport we know as well when you keep adding on things that limit a defender and how he's supposed to play.
Yeah, I think we're all for player safety and making it a safer game, but you can't do that and take away the integrity of the game and the competitiveness of a game, because you made the exact point I was going to make. How in the hell are you supposed to tackle someone if you're behind them without doing that? There's no other way to tackle someone.
You just have to grab their ankle and hope they fall.
Right. You have to clip an ankle, or you have to try to Superman jump on somebody's back and hope you fall forward. Like that. That's the only ways to tackle if you're trailing. And I
basically hope your hips don't fall to the ground if you do that. If you jump and tackle somebody from behind, hey man, try really hard to let your head go first. Which is wait a second. Yeah. Your head's not supposed to go first. Right?
It's tough, because this is just one of those things that this is football. It's a tackle. It's legitimately what it is. And I understand that rule changes happen for player safety, but how many players are really getting injured because of this tackle? I know the Mark Andrews one is one that keeps getting brought up. Tony Pollard in the divisional round 2 years ago against the 49ers broke his leg because of it. So, yes, injuries happen on this tackle, but that doesn't mean it's a dangerous play. Contrasting that with like a horse collar tackle, now that makes sense. I know a lot of people were injured off of that. It's just a very awkward motion, and it's not necessarily a tackle. It is kind of a last-ditch effort in yanking someone down. That's different from a hip drop tackle. That's just tackling someone from behind. That's legitimately all that is. It's using
tackle.
It's tackle. It's using your weight against their weight to bring them to the ground, which by definition loosely is tackling someone. So I know that the crazy thing to me is that it was unanimous from the owners. You would think maybe it's not surprising, but at the same time,
it shouldn't be surprising because they pay wide receivers and running backs and quarterbacks. They pay all those guys, their skill players, a shitload of money.
Yeah.
And the way they see it is, I'm protecting my investment. Yeah. That's how 100%. They see it.
It's a business.
And that's I think that again, like, we can highlight problems with that type of view. But that's the only thing they see is dollar signs in front of them. They don't want to have, like, if CD Lamb were to get screwed up by a hip drop tackle, Jerry Jones does not want that.
No.
Jerry Jones would be fully against that. Patrick Mahomes getting tackled like that. Brett Veach and Andy Reid would lose their mind if that were to happen. So,
so that's a negative one. One rule change I do like that they will start implementing in the 2024 season is they now have the option upstairs. I don't think it has to be challenged. I think they can automatically review roughing the passer calls, which we know were just such a
but still, that's still going to be eye of the beholder, though, right? It's like the pass interference reviews.
There's there's some that are so obvious that are called on the field. Pass interference, I think there's a lot more judgment to, but malicious intent and helmet to helmet, those things are so much easier to see on a replay. We could all see it watching from our home last year, and even the announcers are like, this is ridiculous when certain hits are called roughing the passer over the last 2 years. So I know you'll have people that complain about, we're lengthening the game. If we lengthen the game by a minute and a half per game because of roughing the passer reviews,
just to get things right, I'm fine with that.
Just to get it right, I'm okay with that. So a couple other ones. I know they're doing the kickoff implement. I don't know if they're implementing it yet, but I know they're talking about it. They're not implementing it.
They're not going to implement it.
They turned it down.
It was the XFL style kickoff, right?
Yeah.
Where you have somebody still kicking off from the 35, but there's a buffer zone between the offense and the defense. One thing that's interesting about that is, like, they're getting rid of the hip drop tackle, but the kickoff we have now is very, very dangerous. Right? I mean, it's less dangerous because it's a touchback every time.
Yeah,
but they've taken one of the most
kicks.
They've taken one of the most exciting plays and made it a nothing. I saw that, like, the XFL stats when they did this type of kickoff, 90% of the kickoffs were returned, and right now I think it was a league-wide low, record low of 21%.
Yeah,
of the kicks that get kicked to the kick return team are coming out of the end zone. That's sad. Yeah. That's really sad. But they didn't approve that one.
Okay.